Hey everyone, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem, a Booktube channel by a film, television, and gaming composer specializing in book adaptations. Now, you know that feeling where you start reading a book and then you suddenly pick up on a whim another book and you just kind of blow all your reading plans out of the water. So that's basically what happened to me this week. Let's talk about the week ending May 19th. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Again, I'm Nikhil with Shelf-Esteem. For those of you who don't know me, this is basically a Booktube channel by a film, television, and gaming composer specializing in book adaptations. I've written some music on The Wheel of Time Season 2, His Dark Material Season 3, and the official Brent Weeks companion album to his series Lightbringer. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what happened this week, what I read, what I'm going to read next week, and that kind of a thing. So this kind of is like my accountability buddy check-in to let you all know if I actually succeeded for once in getting through the TBR goals that I had for the week, or if I just got distracted as usual. So no surprise there, I got distracted as usual. So I think I'd mentioned in a previous weekly update that I started reading a book just on a whim, just to see kind of, the opening chapter, famous last words, right? And I read like a few hundred pages of Ken Follett's Fall of Giants. Look at this beautiful hardcover. So I got this hardcover as part of a trilogy. I got the whole set at like a library book sale that they do. Just another cool resource for finding books that won't break the bank. I'm just linking that up here as well. I'd kind of talked a little bit about how that works. But I read this on a whim, and I read maybe 300-400 pages last week. Well, it kind of took over my whole week. I just couldn't stop thinking about it. I ended up talking to a person at the grocery store about it when I was in line to check out my groceries. Like, I've literally been so invested in this book. For those of you who don't know Ken Follett's work, he wrote a book called Pillars of the Earth, which is, often touted as one of the great books of the 20th century. I'd heard about that book and it seemed interesting to me, but I've always been fascinated by 20th century history as well. And this particular trilogy, it's called the Century Trilogy. And so it takes place across 100 years of history, and it tracks 5 families across multiple generations as they experience world events. And so this particular book is about, from the year 1900 to about 1924 or so. And so you get to see these characters go through World War I and the roles they play. And you see cameos from like famous historical figures, but it's always in deference to like what they might have done in that situation. For example, there is a cameo of like Winston Churchill. This is not really a big spoiler or anything like that, but there's a cameo of Winston Churchill. He is visiting this country home. But in Ken Follett's research, he often visited country homes. So it wasn't out of the realm of possibility of something that he would have done. So really fascinating take on, kind of historical drama, a romance for the ages, and what happens when characters are forced to live through, huge world upheaval events. How did they get there? And what are the consequences that will have ramifications across multiple generations? I mean, it's a brilliant book, and I love this book so much that I'm going to do a dedicated, proper, full, long, spoiler-free review on my channel, because I just feel so passionate about this, and it's going to be a real struggle not to just immediately pick up the next 1,000-page book. This one is about 1,000 pages, and it's like walls of text, It's just this for 1,000 pages, but it is absolutely riveting. Like, I never found it dragging, which is no small feat. If you think about it, like a book of this size, usually there's a middle section that's kind of like, all right, this is the setup for the finale. But it felt like a smooth ride from start to finish, very much like a Shogun did. And I would put this in the same tier for me personally. So I can't say high enough things about this book, and I'm going to do that review later on this week. So expect that on the channel sometime soon. So this is basically all I read this week, and I was just invested in it, and I finished it as of last night. So I'm recording this at like 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning on May 19th. So I just had to get my initial thoughts out there, and I'll do a full review very soon. So as of what I'm going to read this week, I'm actually going to pick up what I was supposed to read the last 2 weeks and actually finish them. So the first thing on deck, if you haven't seen my weekly update on that, I will link that up here as well, so you can check those out if you'd like. But the first one on deck is one that I'm excited to continue on. I'd gotten about maybe, about a third of the way through, and that is none other than Joe Abercrombie's The Heroes, which is a standalone and part of his First Law universe. So it's technically book 5 in the First Law universe, and the way the First Law universe works as a structure is there's a trilogy, there are 3 standalones, and then there is a sequel trilogy. So this is one of the 3 standalones. It's the second standalone. And I'm loving it so far. This is like a battle in one book kind of a book. And the little simple tagline at the back says, 3 men, 1 battle, no heroes. I love morally great characters. Joe Abercrombie does it in spades. I love battles where you feel like you're in the battle and it just feels chaotic and you kind of don't know what's going to happen next. Similarly to how I would imagine, I've never really been in war, but how I would imagine a battle might feel like, where you're surrounded and you in the blur and at thick of the action, you don't know who's friend and foe, and you're just trying to survive to live to fight another day. So I'm very excited about a book that kind of captures that feeling. I know Joe Abercrombie does that so well in the other books I've read of his. This is the 5th one I'm going to be reading out of 9, and I'm looking forward to just tackling the rest of the series by the end of the year. So I'm really looking forward to checking this out. Let me know in the comments if you've read it and what your thoughts were on it and how you felt it compared to the standalones, the other standalones, because a lot of people say that the standalones, everyone has their favorite. You have Best Served Cold, the revenge tale, the classic revenge tale. You have With a Twist. You have The Heroes, a battle in one book, and then you have Red Country, which is a Western. So I'm excited and eager to hear what you all think about this. So let me know in the comments, all right? And so I'm going to be reading this, and I'm going to try to finish this by the end of the week. You can hold me accountable. You heard it here first. And then finally, if I have time, this is going to be a book that I think I've realized, I blew through about a third of it as well. About 2 weeks ago, before I got sidelined with Fall of Giants, but I blew through the about a third of this 2 weeks ago. I realized that I like to kind of let this marinate a little bit more. So actually being able to pick it up and read like 100 or 200 pages at a time has been really helpful for me. And I think I'm going to round out the rest of this month with this book, which I talked about, Gardens of the Moon. Book 1 of Malazan, Book of the Fallen, or as I like to call it, Malazan. Tomato there. So I really enjoyed this on a reread. I think I mentioned in a previous weekly update, I'm not going to go into it too much, but I linked that up below as well, that, when I first read Malazan, Book of the Fallen, I got about 2.5 books in and I quit. I DNF'd the series. And I thought, 4 years later, I have more fantasy vocabulary and I understand a bit more about what's going on in the way Steven Erikson writes. Let me try again. And I'm loving the ride so far. I understand everything. It feels clear as day to me. And I think after reading so much more fantasy since, I'm really excited to pick this up again and see what kind of... what it feels like to read it another time. So this is going to be on the docket, I think, to close out May. Hey everyone, I'm sorry about that. I'm doing a quick cut in here because it was 7 o'clock in the morning when I was recording this, and I'm still waking up. I haven't had enough of the coffee, good old caffeine through my veins yet. But I realized I forgot the most important book on my list for this coming week, because Tuesday, May 21st, is going to be release day for none other than You Like It Darker, a collection of short stories by Stephen King. And of course, anything Stephen King, I'm a day one reader, I'm a constant reader, I have to read this thing. So I am so excited to check it out. I'm excited to see him go back to short stories after good long hiatus. So I'm looking forward to seeing kind of more small, less than 1,000 pages of Stephen King content. So I'm really looking forward to that. So I just wanted to mention that is going to be something I'm going to be reading alongside The Heroes and Malazan this week. So now I've talked a little bit about what I'm going to read this week. So let's talk a little bit about the channel and kind of what's happened this week, because a lot has happened actually. The channel gained 49 subscribers now for a total of 85 subscribers, and I couldn't be more thrilled. And it is in no small part due to a shout out that Cliff's Dark Gems. I'm going to link his channel below. You definitely have to check it out. A lot of fantastic horror content, some of my favorites kind of stuff, and great Stephen King lists as well. You got to check out that channel. But he was kind enough to give me a shout out, and people have been so sweet and gracious in welcoming me to Booktube. I've been on Booktube now for a little over a month, and I've just been having such a blast getting to know all of you and getting to talk to you. So thank you so much, Cliff, from the bottom of my heart, man, for giving this channel a shout out and for being such a supportive member of our community. And I'm really excited to get to know you better and to get to know all of you better. So thanks again, Cliff. Really appreciate you, man. And so I basically tackled a couple of videos this week, and I'm going to link those as I kind of mention them, so you kind of, if you missed out on any and you'd like to check them out, please feel free to do so. But one of the videos that I got a chance to put out was the top 10 fantasy series that I want to complete. So basically what that means is, we all start book ones, book twos of a series, and then they get left by the wayside when we start looking at other series that we want to read. And I thought, you know what, to hell with that, I'm going to actually try to finish some series at some point. So these are not ones that I'm necessarily going to get to all this year, because it's just thousands of hours of reading, really. And so I am going to try to get to those, as soon as possible, and they're kind of priority reading for me in the coming months. So those are top 10 fantasy series that I want to complete, and ones that I've read at least a book one of, and or I'm in the process of reading a book one, and I felt compelled to let you know I'm going to be reading those. So if you want to read along with me, let me know in the comments. I always love fostering a community of avid readers who also want to read books along with me, and it's just great to be able to do that with you. So let me know if that's something that you'd be interested in. So that was the first video I released, and then the second video was a Stephen King of Horror book tag. So this was a book tag that was done by Just Book Girl TV, and she had a bunch of people kind of tag along with this video, and it's basically answering 18 questions about our shared love of Stephen King and our personal experience about Stephen King. So it was a blast working on this video, and I got to answer some personal questions about, the man, the myth, the legend, the author that is like probably my favorite author of all time, just in sheer quantity of books and how he changed my life as a reader and as a person. So I was just very eager to put that video out. So I put that video out, and it was great to connect with some Stephen King fans in the process. So always nice when that can happen. So that was this week on the channel. So let's talk about what's going to happen this coming week in the channel. So as promised, I had spoken to you all about doing a Stephen King tier list where I rank all 45 novels that I've read of his so far, and that includes the short story collections. I'm going to kind of lump everything into one. I didn't get to it this week because it was a little bit of a hectic work week, but I'm going to try to get to that this week. So that's kind of on the docket for this week. So I also want to talk about my top 10 sci-fi reads that I want to read or complete very soon. So those are going to be kind of my priority sci-fi reads to come. And that will include standalones as well as series, because I kind of want to touch upon both. I think sci-fi is a unique genre in that it has so much of both. I think with fantasy, it's harder to find a standalone. You usually find these massive series. So I really want to touch upon both the standalones that, I've heard so much about that have a strong legacy, or new ones even. And I want to talk about series as well. So that's going to be another video I'm going to put on the channel. And that was a recommendation by Cade, goes by Cade4746, a friend of the channel who kindly gave that as a suggestion. So thanks, Cade, for that. And I'm really excited to put that out as well. At some point, I don't know if I'm going to get to it this week, but I'm definitely going to do it at some point very soon. So it'll probably be in the next couple weeks or so. But I want to get to a video like a 15 top authors that I haven't read. Because, there's so many authors out there that I haven't even explored. Like, I just got into Ken Follett, right? And I just fell in love with him. And I thought, like, what other authors are there that, I've heard on Booktube, I've heard from friends. I even heard from another one yesterday in line at the grocery store from the person who was checking me out. So, there's always book recommendations to be had at any place, right? And so there, I want to do like a top 15 authors in the sci-fi, fantasy, horror genres of people that I have heard of, I've been wanting to read, but I haven't gotten a chance to read. So I'm going to link all those as well in that video when I do. So you can check them out with me if you'd like to discover them alongside me. So, and then I always want to tackle a little bit at the very end of the video on the music front, kind of what I worked on this week. And this was a week of meetings. I had like meetings almost every day. And it was, it was interesting to see how the industry is doing from other people's perspectives, from people at studios, from people at agencies, from people who are independent filmmakers, and kind of how everybody's been affected for the last year or so by these strikes and kind of the post-negotiation stuff that's been going on. So it was a week of meetings. I also kind of got a little bit further progress on a book project that I'm working on that is soundtrack for a book series that I'm kind of starting to pick away at. One I'm working on solo, and one is a collaboration with a friend of mine who I've worked with in the composer community quite a bit. Fabulous composer, and he got me into Wheel of Time. So of course I had to work on something with him. So I'm very excited to kind of continue on that journey. And so it was kind of a week of creative projects. I'm going to be starting on producing a track for a friend for a short film, which I'm very excited about. And I've heard the industry's picking up a little bit here and there, so I might be doing some orchestration on a film and a TV series in the weeks to come. So that's all very exciting. It's always nice to get back to work and not always be looking for work, because I always find you spend all the time looking for work and you finally get it and you're too tired to work. So that's my conundrum anyways. But let me know in the comments how your week has been. I want to know like what you were reading, what happened to you, what you enjoyed reading, what you didn't enjoy reading. What are books that you would recommend I steer away from? The books that you recommend I have to drop everything and distract myself, kind of like I did with Ken Follett this week? Let me know more in the comments, and please like and subscribe if you haven't. Share the channel around with your friends if you think this is something that they would enjoy, because my only goal here is to foster a community of like-minded readers that just love books and love talking about it with each other. And so whatever we can do to make that happen, I'm all for. So thank you again for watching. I really appreciate each and every one of you. For those of you who are new to the channel, welcome, and I hope you enjoy what you see, and let me know if I can improve in any way, because I always want to make this channel better. All right, I'm Nico with Shelf-Esteem. I hope you have a wonderful week. Please be good to yourself, please be good to each other, and I'll see you next week with some awesome new videos. Take care.